Hi guys, it's John from Double Sleeved here, and we are looking at Day 8's companion, Umori the Collector. So Umori the Collector, a very abstract looking companion. We'll go through some things really quickly, starting with the card. It's an ooze. It's a 4/5 legendary creature for 2 Golgari. It's a companion. Each non-land card in your starting deck shares a card type. As Umori the Collector enters the battlefield, choose a card type. Spells you cast of the chosen card type cost 1 less to cast. Okay. Firstly, let's cover what are the card types. So following the special rule, it's sorceries, planeswalkers, enchantments, creatures, instants, artifacts, and then obviously the last is lands, which it's non-land cards, cost 1 less. That's great. So straight away you need all your cards in your starting deck to have and share one of those, and this will make them easier to cast later on in the game when this is out. So how does that impact us? What sort of decks will we see Umori running? The most popular that I've seen and that I can consider is creatures. Naturally, people like creatures, people want creatures, and a deck without creatures in is going to be tricky to operate. So having creatures as the main type makes the most sense. And you can pretty much go in any direction with that. Obviously, with the Golgari colours, either black or green. I've seen mono black Devotion. I've seen mono green Stompy, as they call it. Ramping into large creatures. You could go 3, 4, or 5 colours. No problem. Umori is kind of an accessory at that point. It doesn't limit the amount of cards you have. It doesn't limit the amount of each card, CMC, anything like that. So as long as you're happy that you've got a bunch of creatures, and as long as your creatures pretty much, you're going to need to lean on creatures enter the battlefield effect, or the adventure cards with their additional potential instant or sorcery effects. But most of the time you're going to get a creature that does something that you want it to. So that is kind of the most popular variant. We'll come on to like the drawbacks of Umori later, but that is kind of where I'd expect to see Umori most popular. The other options we've got, and the one I'll talk through in a bit more detail, and I'll just whisk through some cards for. The first one, which is my most favourite, which is artifacts. Umori artifacts, I think we will see as a deck casually, and I think would be hilarious fun. So looking at some of the cards that you would see in that, you've got Gingerbrute, a 1 mana 1/1 that is hasted, and I've been caught out with this card before because for 1 mana you can make this blockable by only hasted creatures. And although there are haste counters now introduced in Ikoria, there are many creatures outside of sort of red deck wins, maybe Rakdos Sacrifice, that have haste, and therefore this card basically becomes unblockable for 1 mana, and we'll come on to sort of strategy with that a bit later on. You've got a 2 mana Golden Egg, with Golden Egg entering the battlefield draws a card, and then you can pay 1, sacrifice, tap and sacrifice to get mana off of it or gain life like other food tokens. So that's sort of 2 foods there. Bearing in mind all these artifacts, if you're playing artifacts with Umori, could cost 1 less when Umori is out. So you're paying nothing for the Gingerbrute, you're paying 1 for the Golden Egg. Shambling Suit, 3 mana for a 3 toughness artifact creature that has a power equal to the number of artifacts or enchantments you control. So an artifact deck, bunch of artifacts out, this thing could be quite powerful, quite strong. Stonecoil Serpent, a powerful card anyway, has reach, trample and protection from multicolour. A lot of powerful multicolour spells out at the moment. Stonecoil Serpent enters the battlefield with X 1/1/1/1 counters on. Why did I say 1/1/1/1? X 1/1 counters on. Which again will come in relevant in a minute, but still good flexibility in this card. If it's in your opening hand, you've got nothing else to do, you can play it as a 1 mana. Potentially later on you play it as a 4, 5, 6, 7 mana card, which then becomes a 7/7, and could be cheaper with Umori, and therefore you're going to get it for even cheaper, which is, I think, reach, trample, protection, amazing. Crystalline Giant, a 3/3 for 3 that has the ability to each combat gain additional counters, which again will become more relevant in a minute because you've got cards like this. Ozolith, a 1 mana, which with Umori becomes free, legendary artifact. Whenever a creature you control leaves the battlefield, if it had counters on it, put those counters on the Ozolith. At the beginning of combat on your turn, if the Ozolith has counters on it, you may move all counters from the Ozolith onto target creature. That's right. You're generating counters, and we'll talk about other counter generations. You're generating them from Stonecoil Serpent, you're getting them from the Crystalline Giant. You're also getting them from Steel Overseer, which is the absolute beast of a card. 2 mana 1/1, which would obviously be a 1 mana 1/1 if you've got Umori out. Tap, put 1/1 counter on each that you control. This works amazingly well with Manifold Key, so you can untap, do it again. You've got cards like Mystic Forge, which allow you to play an artifact off the top of your deck. You've got Meteor Golem, a classic artifact, which is your permanent removal for the deck. Grafdigger's Cage, which could be sideboardable, but maybe main deck if we see Rakdos Sacrifice or other sacrifice decks continue to be played so effectively. You've also got cards like Pattern Matcher, which, as it enters the battlefield, finds you a card that's also on the battlefield. So if you've got a Ginger Brew out, you can go and fetch you another one. And then you've got cards like Prismite, which are helping to ramp you. And again, for 1 mana potentially, to play it, it's a 2/1. That is gaining counters and blah de blah de blah. The more artifacts, creatures you have out for Steel Overseer, and then subsequently for the Ozolith. So that whole sort of counter creature artifact, getting Umori out, loads of, just could be a really powerful little deck that is tricky to deal with. Now, equally, I think it has some big drawbacks, so I don't think we'll necessarily see it competitively. However much I want to see it competitively, I don't think we will. Another option is enchantments. We know we've seen some absolutely amazing big enchantments being played at the moment. Just pushing my way through a few. Elspeth Conquers Death, Kiora Best the Sea God. If you've not seen that card, creates Krakens, taps the opponent's cards, steals cards, pretty crazy. Enigmatic Incarnation uses the whole enchantment side of things to sacrifice an enchantment and get a new one that's more powerful. Athreos Shroud Veil, not seen enough of it, but basically steals either your own stuff back to you or an opponent's creature. Captive Audience, I've not seen, I think it's hilarious. An enchantment you play on your opponent that forces them to either discard their hand, create 5/5 2/2 black zombies for you, or they make their life total 4, or they have to get rid of it. Just a hilariously dangerous card. Outlaw's Merriment, which for 3 mana if Umori is out, is a crazy card, generating you tokens that do all sorts of crazy stuff. And obviously the card of the century, my favourite still, Shark Typhoon. Whenever you're casting a non-creature spell, if you've got a bunch of enchantments, that's what you'd be doing. You're creating an XX blue flying shark token. That's right, a flying shark token. You don't want any normal shark tokens. It can also be cycled, and it can also, when it cycles, create a token. Crazy. So enchantments, you basically, for me, the way anyone would play an enchantment deck is pick the big game-winning enchantments and look at how you're going to get there, what the colours are, and how you're going to make that work. Because as soon as you get Umori out, you're making it a lot easier to cast some of these big spells. You could play an instant or sorcery based Umori deck. All I would say is I have had a bit of a look at it. I think you would really struggle to get anywhere with it. You'd be running off a couple of creature token potentially, but mainly you'd just be looking at direct damage and removal. I don't know if it's necessarily something that is feasible, and certainly in my opinion not feasible competitively. Umori then, as a card, what are its drawbacks? First of all, its drawbacks are that it is a creature, as with all of them, that can be removed, and as soon as you remove it or counter it, that's it. And I think the big thing with these companions is you counter it, you've lost out on its effects, and you've in essence devised an entire deck in order to have that card that you then don't get. So I feel like, and I will summarize this more in my overall companion summary where I rank all the companions, it just still doesn't feel like it's, you know, it's not uncounterable, it's not hexproof, it's not indestructible, it's just a creature that gives you some benefits. It's also always in your hand, which is pretty cool, and it's a 4/5 for 4, pretty cool. But the fact that you've got to narrow yourself down to having just creatures or just enchantments or just artifacts or whatever, again, it just feels like, it feels very gimmicky. It feels very much like you're doing it because you fancy a bit of something different. Not, no one is looking at this card and going, oh yeah, this is what I need to make that deck to beat everyone else in Magic. So that is my very brief summary of that card. I feel like we will see people try some things with it. I expect that there's a combo out there somewhere that makes it pretty nasty, but again, likelihood of it being played, its restrictions are pretty significant, and I don't know, it just doesn't float my boat in that sense. If it was blue-green Simic Ooze that I could run a blue artifact deck, lovely. But I don't know, Golgari colors, I don't see it being the best card in the world. You go creatures, you go Fiend Artisan and things like that, yeah, you could, but you don't benefit. Fiend Artisan doesn't benefit from it, so I just don't know if it's got enough. Either way, I hope you're enjoying these videos. I appreciate that every single day it's a new style. It's hard doing a video every day, I've learned that now. A couple more to go until we've done it. The next couple of videos as well, when I've been looking at them, some fun to be had. Certainly one of the last two companions I've not spoken about is proving to be significant. I hope you enjoyed them. Let me know if you have. Let me know what you think of these videos. Let me know what you think of the channel. I really appreciate the support in some of these videos. The Lurus video's done really well, which is great. I know I massively edited that video. If that's what people like, then I will look to do fewer videos and more editing. I'll try and do a more edited version of the summary video that will come out. But I appreciate all of you nonetheless. Thank you for watching to the end. Please like and subscribe and throw me a little comment. It really does make a difference when I'm doing these videos. And I will see you guys in the next one tomorrow.